I mean, I thought I was a pretty special guy at one point, but man, oh man, I was nothing. I was nothing compared to what I am now, that I'm nothing, but that. I could never have chosen in my best free will to be what I have become since I have let God decide what I am meant to be, which is I'm meant to be it. I'm meant to be it more than I'm meant to be a me. I'm meant to be it. And it manifests as many different forms of me, but it's it manifesting as forms of me. It isn't me choosing who I'm going to be. It is it manifesting through me and saying, you're going to be this. The point of no return is that point that you cross over where you realize it is much better to be God-informed than it is to be you. It is much better to be completely of God than it is to live in duality. And that's why the point of no return is the point at which you cross over and start surrendering more to thy will and less to free will. And it's a segue. It's a segue. It's not an absolute process, everybody. That's why the book's called The Practice. But when you're open enough to give up enough free will and let enough thy will into your life, and you see the momentum and you see what it shows you and how it enlightens you, and you see how you then start to see God shows you how things are happening, and you start to expand in your enlightenment so fast because it's not based on you anymore. You're on a rocket. God's got you on a rocket ship. You then cross over that midpoint where you have less free will than thy will, all right? Well, guess what? When you have less free will than thy will, that's the point of no return. Because until you have more of thy will than your will, you can still choose to do what? But which direction did I continue to move, right? Backwards, right? But the illusion, you can... So all you are when you finally realize that there's no more free will is, trust me, you're really exhausted.
Just keep going up the down.
Yeah, just going up the down escalator, right? You're exhausted. And then and I tell you this because I fought it tooth and nail. I didn't turn around, I wasn't, whatever character we want to use, I wasn't Buddha that went, oh, yes. I'll waltz right on into my enlightened state. I'm like, no! Kicking and screaming. That's why the big line I use is getting out of your own way. Because who was in the way of this process? Me! And what was the source of it? Free will, believing I could stop God from enlightening me. Do you hear that? That is completely insane. I was completely insane. I was believing that I could stop God from enlightening me, that I could choose to not be more enlightened, when enlightenment is the purpose of life. You get that last part? That's insane. So people may call me crazy now, I know what crazy was, because I was crazy. And to believe that you could stop perfectly planned experiences from bringing you into a higher place of enlightenment is insane. You're constantly denying your experience as being meaningful. You're constantly saying that had nothing to do with me, 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 that wasn't supposed to change me, that wasn't supposed to change me, I don't have to change, it doesn't matter. It's exhausting. And it's all based on the fact that you believe you can what? Choose to believe that. You can't at a certain point. You can get there wherever way you want to get there, but life's going to win. And when does life usually win? When we lose somebody we love, when we go through a traumatic illness, when no matter what we do, we can't change it, like when someone dies. It's like, oh, that's when we face our lack of free will. We lose someone we love. That's why I talk about death so much. Because that's when you really face the fact that, wow, they're gone. And what can you do to bring them back? Nothing. And that's usually when you hear people say, well, it was God's will. Like, that's when they'll buckle in. Well, it was just God's will. Well, there was nothing else that could be done, so it must have been God's will. Isn't that hilarious? Like, that's when they default. You know? It's like, no. It's God's will. This whole creation is God's will. This whole thing is God's will. Because I can tell you what, it ain't any of us making it happen. We are passengers on the train. We are passengers on the train. And we are here to become enlightened by the journey. Be loving, peaceful, accepting, and compassionate to all those other passengers that God brings in and out of our life. And we're going to get on and off a bunch of trains in our life. But we're not the engine. I just think it's in the highest good for us not to work against the engine. Because, we can be a good helper to the engine. We can be a very productive, aligned force in life. And that's what I surrendered being me to do. To, in the best space that God allows me to, represent being balanced and peaceful and loving and compassionate and honest and appropriate. And in the meantime, while I'm doing that, really enjoy the fireworks. And be in constant awe, in constant wonder, and quite frankly, be constantly in love. I want to just leave you with this statement. I have never been so in love with what I am. Never. And it's because I am. I have never been so in love with what I am till I just accepted I am. Because it was always a bridge that I had to cross when I was trying to be in love with me. But to be in love with God, it's easy. It's easy. There's so many things to love about God. And so when I look at myself as a manifestation of that, I look for all these amazing things to love about me. But I'm not loving them about me. I'm loving them about God. Like the miracle of how our hands work and our eyes work and our bodies work. The miracle of how these amazing leaves, they change into these incredible colors. Like I'm always looking at all these reasons why I'm in love. And the things that might in the past have upset me or bothered me, or I don't have time. I'm only here in this reality for such a short period of time. You know what? It's in the highest good for me to be here and be completely in love. Completely in love. And I'm so grateful that God has taken the choice for me to be anything but in love. And any moment that I see a little evidence of free will, like getting me upset or this or that, it's just for such a brief, and then I'm back in love again. And I have an idea, like if God were a person or a being or whatever, I get an idea of how God loves us. Like, there might be a minute where God's like, huh? But it's always, I love him. I love him. I love him. It's like a millisecond. You know what I mean? If it's that, it's just I love him. I love him. Because it's just such a better place to be. It's just a better place to be when you're in love. And not emotionally in love, just in awe and love. And then that comes through you and you bring that to the world. Does it mean you don't tell people the truth? Does it mean you're not a good teacher? Does it mean you aren't obedient to, again, what's in the highest good? What would God do? Many times God requires us to be good teachers and to say things that are appropriate and to help those that are in a different space of consciousness heal and grow. And sometimes that means we have to tell them the truth and all those things we've gone through. Sometimes you're going to hurt some feelings, Sometimes God hurts our feelings by not giving us what we want. Sometimes God hurts our feelings, when you look at God in a way where it can do that, okay? But God is always doing what is best for everything. So just remember, what might not happen in your life might not happen because it needs to happen that way so that 1,000 other lives can have something that they need.